We're literally seeing an epidemic of these issues in the United States right now.
Dr. Robert Melillo is the co-founder of Brain Balance Centers.
1 out of every 10 children in the United States now is diagnosed with ADHD, and that's a real increase.
My name is Dr. Robert Melillo. My life's mission is to help kids and families with special needs. My wife, Carolyn, makes it all possible. Welcome to our family.
Hello, welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Robert Melillo, and this, as always, is my beautiful wife, Carolyn. Today we're talking about autism, as we do quite often. So there's some pretty interesting headlines. One was we had looked at an article where a scientific study came out showing that there's an elevation of testosterone and cortisol and other stress-related hormones in children with autism.
And that is because the mother is stressed or in stress mode while she's pregnant?
In my book, Autism, the Scientific Truth, the book that came out, I talked about how we see the same thing in mothers of kids with autism, meaning that there's an elevated risk of having a child with autism in mothers that have high testosterone and that have high cortisol levels. And this even goes not just for autism, it's also true for ADHD, it's true for dyslexia. As a matter of fact, some of the earliest research is in dyslexia, showing what is called this testosterone hypothesis. But this is showing it not only in the mother, but also in the child. But yes, it's related to this thing called a stress response.
But life is so much easier now. I mean, the worst stress someone has is, I don't have the cell phone 5, or I can't get on the internet.
Right.
Why are people so stressed?
Right, and that's the thing. We hear that life is so much stressful, but think about the pioneers going across the country, right? Where they had people that could kill them, they had bears.
Well, medieval people with no
toilets
or heater.
That was stressful, right?
Right.
Now we have to worry about, if we don't have cereal in the morning or something like that. So, most stress responses and most stress illnesses are not in response to stress, meaning that if we don't activate our brain, if we don't exercise, if we don't move, our stress response automatically goes up.
So people sitting at a job in front of a computer or watching TV are actually in stress mode.
Right. If you take a person that sits in front of a computer or is a couch potato, they're more likely to die from a stress-related illness than someone who has a stressful job. So
it's unbelievable. So it really comes down to exercise. People
exercise, brain stimulation, activating your brain. And this actually goes to another study that talked about that one of the main things that we see in kids with autism is a problem with motor skills. And this is important because I've been talking about this, that almost every kid with autism has a problem with primitive reflexes where they're not inhibited, and they have motor milestone issues, and they have motor problems. They can't move as well.
And what is a primitive reflex for people that don't know what that is?
These are reflexes that we have to move to build our brain. We have to interact with our environment for children to build their brain, for it to grow like muscles. And so when a child's born, they need reflexes to help them move until their brain can make them move.
Rolling over, crawling, pushing up, all those.
Grasping on, rooting onto and sucking and things like that. And so these are survival reflexes that should go away in the first year. And most kids who have autism, they persist, and it affects their ability to move. And so they crawl late, they walk late. And one study out of University of St. Louis, Washington and St. Louis, John Constantino, showed that the main thing that distinguishes a child with autism from their siblings is their motor development. Kids with autism have motor developmental issues, their siblings don't.
Well, if they get rid of the primitive reflexes later on, will they then catch up with their motor skills?
Exactly. So we can get rid of these primitive reflexes easy with different exercises, and they can progress. And so there's another study that came out that is related in some ways, that children that are exposed to more pollution, like from cars, they showed that they're more likely to have autism and schizophrenia. So now there were 2 studies that came out recently showing that in mothers. Now this showed it in the children, and this is interesting because there's this relationship of environment relating to it, but also the relationship between autism and schizophrenia, which I've always talked about, that they're really the same thing.
And that it's environmental.
Right, and that it's being driven by the environment.
Which a lot of people don't know.
Right. Very good.
Oh, thanks, Henny.
Okay, great. So stay tuned. When we come back, we are joined by the mother of a child with autism who is the author of The Everyday Advocate. Areva Martin will share with us how she is standing up and giving a voice to special needs children all over the world. That and more when we return.